This chart shows the estimated net worth of modern tech billionaires, alongside a single column reaching over $600 billion. That figure belongs to John D. Rockefeller. In September 1916, newspapers across the United States reported that he had become the first individual in history to cross the billion-dollar mark. But looking at the timeline of his career reveals a strange contradiction. Rockefeller did not hit this financial peak while commanding his empire. He achieved it following the federal ruling that ordered his empire to be dismantled. He crossed this threshold exactly 5 years after the United States Supreme Court forced the dissolution of Standard Oil. Curious, analytical tone. We need to look at how the government's harshest possible punishment against a monopoly accidentally triggered the wealth explosion that made him the richest man in history. In the 1860s, northwestern Pennsylvania was consumed by an oil boom. Thousands of speculators, known as wildcatters, rushed in to strip the forests and throw up rickety wooden derricks, hoping to strike oil and get rich quick. Rockefeller saw that drilling for oil was a high-risk gamble. He chose instead to control the supply chain's narrowest bottleneck, refining. He founded Standard Oil in 1870 and immediately launched a systematic campaign against what he considered the chaos of ruinous competition. Real wealth, he concluded, required engineering absolute control over the choke point that every single drop of crude oil had to pass through. To get that control, he weaponized his size. By promising massive, steady daily shipments, he extorted secret rebates from the railroads, driving his transportation costs far below what anyone else had to pay. Then, he physically starved his rivals out of the market. He bought all available wooden barrels and refining chemicals, so competitors had no way to process or ship their product. During the Cleveland Massacre, Rockefeller bought out or bankrupted 22 of his 26 local competitors. To manage this operation across state lines, he created the Standard Oil Trust. This corporation of corporations eventually granted him control of 90. The court's punishment was absolute. They mandated that the massive empire be broken apart into 34 separate, independent companies. To the public and the federal government, the beast was slain, and Rockefeller's long reign of market dominance was finally over. Rockefeller, however, understood the underlying math. When asked by a Catholic priest for financial advice right around the time of the breakup, he simply replied, "Buy Standard Oil." This animation shows exactly why. Once those 34 baby standards were unleashed on the open market to operate independently, the sum of their individual stock values skyrocketed past the value of the original unified monopoly. This breakup happened to perfectly coincide with a secondary catalyst, the sudden rise of the automobile, which created an explosion in demand for gasoline. Because they were now separate, agile companies, these 34 spin-offs were primed to capture the incoming transportation boom far better than a slow, massive monopoly ever could have. Rockefeller had retained vast quantities of shares in all 34 successor companies. As the automotive industry took off, this dual surge in stock value doubled and then tripled his net worth. The government's aggressive attempt to dismantle his empire is the precise mathematical trigger that pushed his personal fortune over $1 billion. Rockefeller was a ruthless monopolist, but his business model was built on such sound mechanics that the federal government tearing it apart actually realized the full market value of his holdings.